Howdy folks, it's Ajo, the hunting gear guy, and this is the Remington 783 heavy barrel with a couple things added onto it. I've chosen to replace the factory stock with a Boyd stock. So this is just Remington 783 rifle with a heavy barrel and a larger extended bolt knob on it. So that's the primary difference here. We've also got a rail on top, so it's kind of nice to have a Picatinny rail where you can move your scope back and forth. Before we get too far, my mag's empty. My chamber's empty. We're going to take a closer look at this thing. This is a fantastic hunting rifle or target rifle. Let's start from the back. Now, as I get to the back here, I mean, this isn't the stock it came with, so what's the deal? Why aren't I using the lighter synthetic stock that this heavy barrel came with? Well, one of the things I found was that it wasn't free-floated. I couldn't do the dollar bill thing on the barrel, which, I mean, this is a heavy barrel. It should be able to support itself. It doesn't need stock support or anything like that. It should be able to hang off the receiver. So I relieved it, and I relieved it some more, and I relieved it some more, and I found that the weight of this action in the heavy barrel was just pressing down, and the stock was flexing up into the barrel, and I couldn't stop it. So I had to replace the stock with this Boyd's synthetic stock here. Synthetic? No, laminate wood stock. There we go. Which is quite a bit heavier, but a lot stiffer, a lot nicer for target shooting. Not great for hunting. This is a heavy rifle. But given that it's a heavy barrel, like you can use this for hunting. It's better for target shooting, especially for your long range kind of thing. These come in 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, that kind of thing. This one's in 6.5 Creedmoor. I really like the cartridge. It's perfect for deer. 308 is good for deer too. 6.5 is just a little bit flatter, a little bit faster, and just a little bit easier to make those mid-range hits, and a little bit less recoil too. Not that it really matters when you've got a rifle this heavy. So anyways, starting from the back, we don't have the Remington 783 heavy barrel stock on here because that's, I don't know, I have it stored somewhere that I don't care about. On this Boyd stock, we've got a pretty stiff rubber butt pad. Doesn't matter. This is a heavy gun. 6.5 Creedmoor doesn't have a lot of recoil to it when you've put it in a gun like this. We've got this nice big bolt knob here, really easy to get to and push in. It's not super catchy. It's not as smooth as like a Tikka or anything like that, but it's not too bad. I would say it's pretty much on par with like a Savage Axis, that kind of a thing. We've got that Remington light trigger, similar to the Savage Accu trigger. Now, if you've watched my other video on the Remington 783, you'll see like this was a Marlin rifle. Like Marlin had this X7, XS, XL7, which was kind of like Marlin makes a Savage rifle, or Marlin goes to Savage rifle making school. They ran a barrel nut on it. They did the adjustable trigger with the little trigger shoe on it and everything like that. And then Remington bought Marlin, and then Remington came out with the 783, which was, I think, just the X7 Remingtonized. They did a couple things to it that made it different, but largely it was still just the Marlin X7, which was a good rifle. It was a really good for the price, and the trigger was fantastic on it and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so really nice bolt on it. Very easy to release. Our bolt release is just on the left-hand side here, right there, and if we push that down, bolt comes out easy. Again, that Savage system where you have to press the trigger and push the lever, it's kind of painful, whereas this one is very easy, and the bolt just comes out. So very nice. For the safety, we have this side deal here that you kind of flick back or flick forward to take it off safe or put it on safe. I prefer the Tang ones. They're just a little bit easier to control than these little lever ones, and these ones have just a little bit more click to them than some of those other ones. Because, like, generally, if I'm hunting and I'm close to my deer, I'll have the safety on until I see a deer, and then the safety comes off, and I want it to be quiet, because sometimes I don't see the deer until they're at like 50 yards from me. So usually they're quite a bit further, because usually I'm hunting like really far distances, but I prefer a nice quiet safety, and that one can be done. You just have to very carefully place it down, and it doesn't make that much noise. Now let's talk about that trigger. So you can dry fire these firearms. Make sure that your chamber is empty. Make sure that you don't have no magazine in, and you can dry fire them. I'm going to use this alignment digital scale just to see what kind of trigger press we've got on there. You have to pull that little lever down. If you don't press the lever, it won't actually fire. So you have to have that lever down for it to fire. I'm going to press it down, and we're going to do a quick trigger pull here. And we're just short of 4 pounds right now. Now this is adjustable, so you can adjust this trigger if you need to. I might adjust this a little bit later on. Let's do one more trigger pull just to make sure that that wasn't chance, that trigger pull. About the same thing, right around 314 or so. You saw that when it broke. So a decent trigger. And the thing that I like about it is that it's nice and short. There's not really a lot of drag to it, not really a lot of creep either to it. So I'm pressing, and it just breaks. So very nice trigger press on it in terms of lack of creep and that kind of thing. Now along the top, rather than like 2 little weaver bases, we've got one section of Picatinny rail that goes all along the top. That's nice and flexible. I do like just having a Picatinny rail up there. It doesn't really cost that much more, and it adds some flexibility for where you mount your scope. Some of the ones, like the Savage Axis, for example, where they have just 2 weaver rails, you need a really long scope body for that to work. And it doesn't give you a lot of options on where to mount the scope, whereas this guy does. There you can see that barrel nut that goes on there. So if you wanted to, you could swap these barrels. You might not get a chance to because Remington's bankrupt, and who knows if whoever buys them is going to be making replacement barrels for the 783. But that's possible, and I guess there's other manufacturers out there that'll do it. Now on this Boyd stock, it's actually got 2 sling studs at the front, one for the bipod, one for your sling. Kind of nice, I like that. It also has a very generous free float channel in there, so there's definitely going to be no barrel contact with that stock. At the muzzle, we have a removable muzzle cap so that we can get access to the threads there. So if you wanted to put on a suppressor, if you were in a country where the government doesn't have like dumbass laws, you could put a suppressor on here and then not bother the neighbors when you're out target shooting or when you're out hunting. Alternatively, if you were to use this in competition, like PRS and that kind of thing, you could thread a brake on here and see your hits. Yeah, it'd be easier to see your hits. If you can cut the recoil down and you're shooting this thing off a bipod, you could potentially see your hits if you were to use a brake. The other thing I really like on this rifle is the magwell. The magwell is really good. It snaps in, the magazine snaps in very easily. You can't get a false set on it where you've got the front locked in and the back not locked in. Like that's very hard to do, and it doesn't really want to do it. Whereas it's very easy to snap it in. Now the problem is that I ran into with this stock and with the stock before is it doesn't like flat nose bullets. So if you try those Federal Fusions or anything like that, it kind of wants to jam them into the ramp that's just there. So it doesn't really like to do that. Not a problem if you're going to use ballistic tips or a pointier bullet than the Fusions, which are a little bit flat just on the front there. So would I recommend the Remington 783? Well, I think the bigger question is, would I recommend Remington? Because right now the future is a little bit unsure. Like they went bankrupt. Their parts have been sold to some companies. Those companies may have different plans than Remington. They might have different ideas about how to support a rifle like this. So the prospect of finding replacement parts right now, it's okay. There's places that have them. What about in 10 years? What about in 20 years? Might not be that good. I was talking to a friend of mine who's looking for little rubber O-rings that go on the Remington 1100, and they wear out, and you can't find them from Remington anymore. So parts availability may not be that good. Now, if your intention is to buy one of these things and use it for low volume hunting or low volume target shooting, and you find a really great price on one, find a deal like on sale at a store, or find a used one at a great price, you might want to go for it. Because, again, it's such a bolt-action rifle. Like, all this thing's going to do in its life is just run ammo. If you're not going to burn out the barrel by running, like 10,000 rounds or 6,000 rounds, then who cares? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe just buy it and use it as a hunting rifle or target rifle and don't worry about it so much. But if I were to see one of these and see a competitor rifle that had similar features for the same price, I'd probably pick one of the competitor ones, just because, again, the future around Remington is really unsure. The future around how their products get supported is really unsure. And for those reasons, I'd probably pick something else up, unless it was a really good deal. I'm a sucker for a good deal. Anyways, hopefully that was informative. Thanks for watching.